My mother looked at my broken leg through a chained door and said, "We don't run a shelter for liabilities. Sleep in your car." Yesterday, my surgery fund had $8,500 in it. Tonight, my balance was zero, and my family had already spent it. That was the moment I realized they didn't just betray me, they wrote me off like a bad investment. My mother looked at my broken leg through the crack in the front door and didn't even unlatch the safety chain. "We don't run a shelter for liabilities," she said flatly. "Go sleep in your car." Cold air rushed between us. I balanced on my crutches and lifted my phone. My hands were shaking. I opened my bank app and turned the screen toward her. The balance read $0.00. Yesterday, there had been $8,500 in our joint account. Every dollar I had scraped together for my surgery. Double shifts, skipped meals, months of sacrifice. She didn't flinch. She just shrugged. Jackson needed it. Gambling debt. What was I supposed to do? Her eyes dropped to my plastered leg like it was an inconvenience, not a body part. "You're a financial burden, Odessa." Then she slammed the door. The lock clicked. The porch light went dark. And just like that, I was locked out of my childhood home with a broken leg and an empty account. Standing there, rain misting my face, something inside me finally snapped into focus. They didn't just steal my money, they abandoned me. Have you ever realized your own family sees you as an ATM instead of a human being? That night, I slept in my car, or tried to. It's impossible to get comfortable in the back seat of a 10-year-old sedan when your leg is trapped in plaster and your entire world has collapsed. I parked in a 24-hour motel lot hoping security wouldn't knock, and stared at the sagging fabric roof above me. Every shift sent lightning up my leg, but the physical pain wasn't the worst part. It was the clarity. Cold, heavy, absolute. You see, I'm a risk manager for a mid-size insurance firm. My job is to find liabilities before they destroy a company. I analyze balance sheets, safety protocols, hidden risks. I tell businesses what to cut to survive. And lying there in the dark, smelling stale coffee and wet asphalt, I realized something terrifying. For 30 years, I had ignored the biggest liability in my own life: my family. The memories didn't rush in like a wave. They lined up like numbers on an audit sheet. And the first name on the list was Jackson. Jackson had always been the golden liability no one wanted to admit was dangerous. The year he turned 25, he totaled his car driving under the influence, wrapped it around a divider at 2 in the morning. Any normal family would have let him spend the night in jail. Mine refinanced their mortgage. They hired a top-tier lawyer, erased the charges, and 2 weeks later parked a brand-new SUV in the driveway so Jackson wouldn't lose confidence. That same year, I was taking the bus to an unpaid internship. Gas money, they told me, was a luxury. So I ate ramen for 8 months straight while Jackson flooded Instagram with bottle service in Vegas, all on my parents' dime. Then there was Vanessa, my sister-in-law, the woman who looked at me like I was a stain on her curated life. 3 months ago, at a family barbecue, I wore a sensible dress from a thrift store. Clean, professional, cheap. Vanessa swirled her wine I had paid for, and pinched the strap of her Louis Vuitton bag. "You really need to invest in yourself, Odessa." She laughed loud enough for everyone to hear. "You look discount. It's embarrassing for Jackson." I swallowed the insult like I always did, but lying in my car that night, I finally did the math. That bag cost $3,000. $3,000 my mother had borrowed from me the week before for home repairs. I hadn't paid for drywall. I had paid for Vanessa to humiliate me. And then there was the $8,500. That wasn't just money. That was my leg. That was my ability to walk without a limp for the rest of my life. My insurance deductible was brutal, so I worked double shifts, skipped dinners, saved every cent to afford a specialized orthopedic surgeon. When they drained that account, they weren't just greedy. They made a decision. They decided Jackson's gambling debt mattered more than my body. They decided my pain was a fair price for his comfort. As dawn crept in, the sky turning a bruised purple, I sat up in the driver's seat, joints popping, jaw clenched. My reflection in the rearview mirror looked wrecked. Red eyes, tangled hair, exhaustion carved into my face. But I wasn't broken. I pulled out my laptop, tethered it to my phone, and opened a blank spreadsheet. I didn't cry. I didn't beg. I started auditing. Every insult, every theft, every loan that never came back, line by line, total at the bottom. Then, mentally, I stamped one word across their names: write-off. They thought I was a quiet ATM. They forgot something important. An auditor's job isn't just to find loss, it's to stop the bleeding. And I was done hemorrhaging for family that never saw me one. It took 18 months. 18 months of living in a studio apartment the size of a shoebox, of eating discount tuna and day-old bread, of saying yes to every remote risk assessment contract that crossed my inbox. My leg healed without the expensive surgery. Not perfectly. I chose the cheaper, slower physical therapy route. It left me aching when it rained, but it kept me solvent. Brick by brick, I rebuilt my savings. Not with hope, with quiet, focused rage. Then one morning, buried in foreclosure listings, I found it. A house in a quiet suburb. 3 bedrooms, hardwood floors, a wraparound porch that caught the afternoon sun. Market value, $385,000. The bank wanted it gone. I bought it in cash, through an LLC so my name never touched the public record. Standing in the empty living room, dust floating in the light, I should have felt safe. Instead, I felt alert, because my family doesn't smell love, they smell money. If I moved in normally, Jackson would show up with a story about loan sharks. My mother would arrive with a casserole and a guilt speech about how family helps family. Vanessa would be eyeing closets before saying hello. I didn't want to hide anymore. I wanted to neutralize. So instead of moving furniture, I moved strategy. For 2 days, I turned the house into a quiet surveillance state. Tiny 4K cameras went into smoke detectors, air vents, hallway corners, battery backups, cloud storage. I tested angles on my tablet until I could see every inch of the floor plan in razor-sharp detail. Then I set the bait. I photographed the front door keys resting on the granite island and texted my mother. Finally closed on a place. It's huge, but work is sending me to Dallas immediately. Won't be back for 3 days. Hope it's safe sitting empty. I knew the chain reaction. She'd show it to Jackson, Jackson would show it to Vanessa, and greed would do the rest. But trespassing isn't enough. I needed leverage. I needed intent. Upstairs in the master closet, I placed a small mahogany jewelry box on the top shelf. Inside, I nestled my grandmother's emerald ring, the one I had protected from them for years. Value, $5,000. I locked the box. Then I dropped the tiny brass key into the kitchen junk drawer, buried under menus and rubber bands. To take that ring, they'd have to search, rummage, climb, invade. That wasn't an accident. That was a felony invitation. The house didn't feel like a home. It felt like a stage. I locked the door behind me, drove 5 miles to a budget hotel, opened my laptop, and waited. I was betting everything on their entitlement, and entitlement always shows up. I called this phase the aquarium because I wasn't emotional, I wasn't nervous, I was observing. My hotel room smelled like detergent and old carpet, brick wall outside the window, stiff sheets, the kind of place no one remembers. My laptop sat open on the wobbling desk, the screen divided into 4 crystal clear feeds. I wasn't watching family, I was watching behavior. At 2:25 p.m., the first motion alert chimed. Camera 1, front porch. My father, Robert, and Jackson stepped into frame. They didn't knock. They didn't hesitate. Robert unzipped a tool bag and pulled out a cordless drill. Jackson held up his phone light, laughing at something I couldn't hear yet. They're not visiting. They're breaching. The drill whined, tinny through my speakers, perfect on screen. 3 minutes later, my deadbolt lay destroyed. I saved the clip.